Hello there, Stevos, and welcome back to the movie wrap-up videos. That's right, every Sunday going forward, as we start the New Year's, we start 2026, I am back with some more movie wrap-up videos. Of course, this is the video series where obviously I go through movies that I've watched, reviewed, and obviously regardless whether it's in cinemas or on streaming like Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime Video. This is a place where I'll be talking about films and letting you guys know whether or not a film is worth watching in cinemas, streaming, or not even in cinemas, just worth waiting until it comes out on streaming. But before I do that though, I'm just going to fast forward, rewind back to 2025, just very briefly, as we have started the new year, because earlier this week we got the Letterboxd Wrapped. Now, a lot of the reviews that I do go through on the movie wrap-up videos, you can find on my Letterboxd account, so feel free to give me a follow on Letterboxd. If you're not yet following me on Letterboxd, it is SteveOfficial, similar to this YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. It's SteveOfficial over on Letterboxd. So feel free to give me a follow on there. If you are not yet following me, and you'll keep up to date with all the latest films that I've seen recently, as and when I watch certain films. Anyway, let me go through my Letterboxd Wrapped for 2025 before we go into the movie wrap-up episode for today. So firstly, let me have a look and show you how many films I have logged and reviewed in 2025, because I have logged 264 films. I have reviewed 264 films in 2025, and that's given me a grand total of 422 hours of films that I have watched. So literally 422 hours of 2025 I sat down on me arse and I watched some films. 422 hours. But also as well, the most watched actor of 2025 was John Ratzenberger. I don't even know what films he's been in. I genuinely don't know what films John Ratzenberger's been in, but okay. And my most watched director is James Cameron. Now, that does actually make a lot of sense, given the fact that in 2025, I was watching the Terminator films, and also as well, towards the end of 2025, I was also watching the Avatar franchise as well. So there we go. My highly rated films of 2025 was Frankenstein 2025 over on Netflix, The Long Walk as well, which I gave 5 stars, and then I also gave Together 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. Also as well, side note, I think probably the 4th place film that would have been at 4.5 stars if it was not top 3, if it was top 5. I guess number 4 would have been The Naked Gun 2025 as well, because I gave that 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. But anyway, the most amount of films I've watched in the space of a week was actually towards the end of the year, as you can see, because week 49, between December 1st and December 7th, 2025 is when I watched 21 films in the space of that week. And then obviously my most watched day of 2025, it seemed to have been Fridays. Fridays seemed to have been the day when I tend to have watched the most amount of films, because I watched 61 films on a Friday, well, not on a, but in grand total on a Friday throughout 2025. Friday seemed to be the day where I was watching the most amount of films, and in total I watched 61 films on a Friday in 2025. My first watch of 2025 was on January 1st, and that was the first Toy Story film. And then the last watch film, which was December 30th, was Anaconda, which I'll talk more about later on in this video, but that's from 2025. The diary milestones. So at So my 50th film I watched, which was on February 8th, was Final Destination 2. My 100th film I watched was June 15th, which was How to Train Your Dragon 2025. My 150th film was on October 10th, and that was Drag Me to Hell. 200th film was November 8th. That was Ballad of a Small Player. And then the 250th film, which was on December 11th, was Family Switch. My most watched theme was horror, the undead and monster classics, and most watched nano genre was slapstick, holiday, and silly. Anyway, you know what? It doesn't at all surprise me, by the way, that horror is my most watched genre of 2025, because after all, I am a huge fan of the horror genre. I'm a massive horror fan. I'm a massive horror nerd. I love horror. Okay, what can I say? I love horror. Anyway, I just thought I would share, as I'm doing this movie wrap-up video as well, my letterbox Wrapped, because I've shared it on my social media platforms, and I thought I would share it with you guys during this episode of the movie wrap-up. Anyway, by the way, before we do get into the movies as well, just very quick, I just want to say that I have not had time this week to watch Marty Supreme or Song Song Blue. Those two films I am planning to watch next week, so they will be reviewed in next week's episode of Steve's Movie Wrap Up right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. But I have got 4 films to go through in this week's episode of the Movie Wrap Up. So without further ado, let's start this week's episode of the Movie Wrap Up. You're watching Steve's Movie Wrap Up, episode 81, right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. The first movie we'll be reviewing in this episode is The Housemaid. So we are starting off with The Housemaid, which I watched in cinemas, and I gave 4 stars over on Letterboxd. So wow, I absolutely loved this movie. I really dug this film. At first, I will be honest, the beginning of The Housemaid was rather clunky. It kind of felt rather messy in places to begin with, but then the film managed to find its feet, and then the plot starts to unravel, and I thought the pacing seemed to be fine after that. But The Housemaid stars Sydney Sweeney, playing a character called Millie. She doesn't have family, she doesn't have a job or a house. She is living in her car. She is out on parole after spending some time in prison, and as mentioned, she doesn't have a job, so she lines up an interview to become a housemaid for a rich family called the Winchesters. As the title of the movie suggests, she gets a job as the maid of the house. We also see the character of Nina Winchester, the wife and mother of the household, played by Amanda Seyfried, and at first she seems absolutely fine, nothing wrong at all, but then about 15-20 minutes in, she becomes this absolute chaotic psychopath, and she really has it out for Millie. She essentially becomes this huge bitch, an unlikable character of the film. As a moviegoer, I was kind of like, damn, I feel bad for Millie. She doesn't deserve to go through this. And I wasn't just feeling bad because it was Sweeney playing the character. Regardless of who played the character, I would have still felt bad for the character because Millie didn't deserve to be treated this way. But as the movie progresses, and I don't want to spoil things too much in this review, but as it does progress, we do start to see some backstories being told about these characters we have been watching. It was kind of odd that we didn't get this at the beginning, but it makes sense though as you watch through this film. You'll understand why the backstory was told around about the halfway point of the film. There is some twists and turns in this, like that I wasn't expecting, and when they did happen, in my mind I was like, oh, now this movie has become even more interesting. I know that The Housemaid is based on a novel. Have I read the novel? I haven't. pretty much like a lot of the other movies that have been based on novels before. I haven't read the novel to this rather interesting so it's rather interesting to see if someone who knows the story based on the book knew what was going to happen in this movie or not. Going in blind to this film is even better though, from my experience. I really enjoyed watching this movie a lot. I will definitely check this one out again. I definitely do think this is a movie I will buy and keep when it does get released on digital in the future for sure. Is this a movie I recommend for sure? If you have read the novel and are interested in checking out the film, then definitely do check it out. If you are into thriller films, more so psychological thrillers, because this is what I would class The Housemaid as, then again I would also check this one out as well. But The Housemaid is currently showing in cinemas and theatres worldwide.
Avatar: Fire and Ash.
Next up, it is Avatar: Fire and Ash, which I gave 3.5 stars over on Letterboxd. So after spending the weekend catching up on the trilogy that is Avatar and Avatar: The Way of Water on Disney+, I highly don't recommend watching both films on a streaming service, because while they are amazing, but they do lose their cinematic experience on streaming services. But thankfully I got to experience Avatar: Fire and Ash on the big screen at my local cinema, with a moderately packed out cinema, and even better is that I got to experience it in 3D as well. More on the 3D aspect of the film soon. But so far, Avatar: Fire and Ash has held up rather well, box office numbers wise, given the fact that the movie came out literally a week before Christmas. It also helps by the fact that for 1 week, each week, Avatar: Fire and Ash is in cinemas. They are playing a different trailer for Avengers Doomsday, which releases in cinemas in December 2026. The first week that Avatar: Fire and Ash was released, the teaser trailer focused on the OG Captain America, which was Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans, which confirmed that Chris Evans will be back to play Steve Rogers in Doomsday in 2026. The second trailer we have been given focuses on Chris Hemsworth's Thor, again confirming that Thor is returning in Avengers Doomsday in 2026. This is also the trailer that was attached to my screening of Avatar: Fire and Ash, and yes, I have seen the third trailer seemingly leak online in the last few days, but it features the X-Men with the character Cyclops returning, and given how the trailer looks, it looks as though they may have made Cyclops comic book accurate. Yeah, boy, I do hope so. But going back to what I was saying before, but given Marvel is releasing these new trailers each week while Fire and Ash is in cinemas, may also be helping drive up those box office numbers. Now, to talk about Avatar: Fire and Ash itself, I have given this film 3.5 stars rather than 4.5 stars like I have done with the other two films that I rewatched recently. Why is that? Well, for me, as much as I enjoyed this film, don't get me wrong, it's great and I did enjoy it. However, though, for me personally, I feel as though this was the weakest of the trilogy. There was a little bit of repetitiveness in this movie throughout the 3 hours and 15-minute running time, which became rather boring after a certain amount of time. I love the fact, though, we get to see Spider and Kiri brought to the forefront of the movie. Jake Sully, despite the fact his story is still going on and we do still follow Jake throughout the film, but I did enjoy the scenes we got with Spider and Kiri. However, I do have another issue with this film, and that is that this is called Avatar: Fire and Ash, not Avatar: The Way of Water 2. And for a film that was supposed to be focusing on fire and ash, it seems to have spent a lot of time in the water with the sea creatures. It's almost like they forgot to add in these scenes with the water creatures in The Way of Water, so they thought, fuck it, we will add add it into Fire and Ash, and that will make the film a little longer. We can flesh out the sequel in Fire and Ash. Now, don't get me wrong, I appreciate what we got to see. We get to see these sea creatures, and even more better to experience this in 3D as well. But I do wish we focused a lot more on the Ash people, as they are called in the film. Again, what makes Fire and Ash so special is the fact that this film gives you that escapism you need for 3 hours. Also, I would say in Avatar, you see Pandora for about 75 to 80% of the film. In The Way of Water, you see it for about 85% of the film. But in Fire and Ash, you are in Pandora for about a good chunk of 95% of the film. Which, again, I really appreciate that a lot too. As for the 3D elements, I loved how smooth it came across on screen in 3D, especially when we see these avatars flying through Pandora. The motion on the film is just so stunning and so smooth as well, which again, I really appreciate that a lot too. But it does make me beg the question though, we aren't in 2009 anymore, and even though we do still have 3D movies in 2025 or 2026, but do we need to experience every Avatar film in 3D? Can we not just appreciate the visuals on the big screen without the glasses? I reckon if Avatar 4 does get made, they probably will stick with making it in 3D for cinemas. Do I recommend watching Avatar Fire and Ash? Well, yes I do, but I just can't help but feel as though Fire and Ash is just reheated nachos from The Way of Water, and it hasn't given us anything fresh aside from the bad guys. I also feel as though the marketing for this film is just the director of Avatar, James Cameron, basically saying, if you want Avatar 4 and 5, then go and see this, because if you don't, then I will move on and make other projects. But for those that did want it, I will tell you what happens in 4 and 5 in a press conference. He has said that last bit in a very recent interview about doing the press conference, by the way. But this is supposed to have been a film that wrapped up this trilogy, because if 4 and 5 does happen, they are planning to tell a different story. But how this ended though, I did find it somewhat satisfying in a way, really. Is Avatar Fire and Ash gonna be a film I rewatch? Yeah, it would be, but only if they do make 4 and 5, because that is really the only time I can see me going back and revisiting this franchise. Also, quick side note, as mentioned earlier in this review, the running time is 3 hours 15 minutes, and I did need a bathroom break about halfway through the film, so I did miss about 5 minutes of this film. But by the time I got to the loo, did my business, then washed my hands and got back to my seat, but I don't think I missed anything big or important while I was away from my seat. Avatar Fire and Ash, though, is currently showing in cinemas and theatres worldwide.
The SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants.
Next up is the SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants, which I gave 3.5 stars over on Letterboxd. The SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants is the first SpongeBob movie I have seen on the big screen. Yes, I did used to watch SpongeBob SquarePants as a kid, and I did see the first feature-length film, which I am certain was released in cinemas all the way back in 2004, when that movie was first released. And I am aware that SpongeBob Sponge Out of Water was also another SpongeBob film that was released theatrically, which I have seen before, but not in cinemas. And of course, you have had in recent years Plankton the movie and Sandy Cheeks Saving Bikini Bottom, but both of those films went straight to streaming on Netflix, so it felt rather nice to go and watch this on the big screen in cinemas. SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants is a movie that I feel as though the kids would enjoy, but even as an adult who grew up when they were kids watching SpongeBob will love and appreciate this film. It does have some rather cheesy jokes and humour, but at the same time it is a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously. Alongside the main cast who voice the regular characters of SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, Sandy, Plankton and Mr. Krabs, where we do also have Mark Hamill, who voices the Flying Dutchman, who is the main villain of this film. And we also have Ice Spice, who does also voice a character briefly in this film, but also does a song for this film titled Big Guy, because after all, SpongeBob is a big guy now. And you'll only get that reference if you have already seen this film. Is the SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants a film I can see me revisiting and rewatching again? For sure it will be. I had a fun time with this movie, and is this one I can see me buying and keeping on digital? Again, I do think so, as I did enjoy this one. Do I recommend watching this movie? Yeah, I do. For those who grew up watching SpongeBob, to those who still love watching SpongeBob, or to those parents out there who have kids and are looking for to see a film at their local cinema in the new year, I definitely recommend this film. Also, I appreciate the fact that this 1 hour 30-minute long film is done with 3D animation as well. Makes the film feel a lot more special as well. But then again, SpongeBob has always done this movie's animation in a special way. I also love some of the facial reactions that some characters give off in this movie. It did give me a chuckle or two. However, though, when it came to the scenes that were live action, out of the water, for me, I could tell that that was done in a studio with a green screen behind the actors that were live action. It just felt too obvious, but that is my only complaint there. The SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants is now in cinemas and theatres worldwide.
Anaconda 2025.
Anaconda 2025 is the next film I watched, and I gave that 2.5 stars over on Letterboxd. This was also my final movie that I had seen in the cinema in the year 2025. Also the last movie I'd watched in 2025 as well. But yeah, also as well, given the fact that I haven't seen the original that came out in the 90s, but then again I felt the same when I watched Twisters back in 2023. I hadn't seen the original to that one, which again came out in the 90s, but I feel as though I didn't need to see the original film to understand Twisters, and Anaconda was the same. I mean, yes, there is a couple of cameos from certain people who starred in the original, which I won't give away just in case there are people that are watching this who are yet to see this film. But is this a remake or a reimagining of the original 90s film? It isn't. So we have Jack Black and Paul Rudd. They star in this movie, and if like me you are a movie buff, I feel as though this movie is going to be right up your street, because they do talk a lot about film making, and there is a couple of horror movie references in here as well, which I did enjoy. But the characters that Jack Black and Paul Rudd play, they love the original movie of Anaconda so much that they decide to go to the Amazon jungle where they film a reboot of the film. The only thing is though, when they do arrive in the Amazon jungle, is that they end up becoming part of the movie in real life, because there is an anaconda on the loose. Every time I do say the word anaconda, it makes me think of that song that goes, "My anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hun." You know, it just does. It just does. But that song, of course, does feature in this movie a little bit as well. It does have its funny and standout moments in here. There are some scenes which, for me, did feel like it did drag on a little. But safe to say, I found this entertaining enough, as I did get a couple of chuckles from this film. Is Anaconda a film I would check out again? Yeah, sure, it would be, and would also be a film I will buy and keep on digital when it gets released later in the year on digital platforms. Is this a movie I would recommend? Yes, for sure. For people who love comedies, films that don't take themselves too seriously, and also just straight up comedy films, I would recommend this one. Anaconda is currently showing in cinemas and theatres worldwide.
Y2K.
And you know what? This is the last movie I have watched this week, but it's the first movie I've watched in 2026. It's also a film I've never seen before up until January 1st, 2026, so I might as well review it here on the movie wrap-up. The film I'm talking about, as you can see from the poster, is Y2K. Now, Y2K, I did give 2.5 stars over on Letterboxd. So the first movie that I have seen in 2026 is Y2K, a film which came out in 2025, despite the release year being 2024 on Letterboxd. But I thought, as it is the start of a new year, as this movie is set around New Year as well, I thought it is rather fitting for me to start the new year off with a movie set around that time of the year. Y2K is about these teens who are in the year 1999, and as the new millennium begins, as they reach the year 2000, there is the conspiracy theory or the conspiracy threats going around about technology spiraling out of control, like household appliances, computers, all because of a huge virus. And that was a conspiracy back in 1999, that the world was going to end at midnight in the year 2000 because of a computer virus. Some people believe that conspiracy to be true, others knew it was false, and here we are now 26 years later to reveal that the conspiracy was indeed untrue, unless we did all die in the year 2000 at midnight, and I have been living in the afterlife in the past 26 years. There is a lot of references in this film about the 90s, which, as a fan of the 90s who wishes he got to experience the 90s more than just 3 years of it, I appreciate the 90s vibes and the nostalgia that this film gives us. The characters weren't too bad, and I did dig this story as well. The running time for the film does clock in at 1 hour and 33 minutes, so it's a nice and easy watch for those looking for something quick to watch. And the genre for this film is classed as a horror comedy. I will say there are some rather funny moments, and with the elements of horror in this film as well. The gore isn't too bad, but does at times feel rather cheap to look at on screen. Is Y2K a film I would recommend for sure if you are looking for something to watch at the start of the year that is set around this time of the year? Then check this one out. If you are looking for a horror comedy film to watch, again, I would recommend watching this one as well. But Y2K is available to buy and rent on digital platforms right now. And that is your movie wrap-up episode for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what movies you've been watching this past week, whether it's old, new, in cinemas, VHS, Blu-ray, DVD, even on streaming. Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, if you are new around here and you like what you see and you want to see more, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below to become a Stevo. And of course, there is a lot more content on the way. So of course, I have got some more movie wrap-up episodes coming up. Obviously, your next movie wrap-up video will be up on my channel at 4 PM UK time on the 11th of January 2026. And then I've got another movie wrap-up video coming up on the 18th of January 2026 at 4 p.m. UK time. And then I have got one last movie wrap-up video coming out on the 25th of January 2026 at 4 p.m. UK time before my weekly vlogs do return, because my weekly vlogs will be back on Monday the 26th of January 2026 at 4 p.m. UK time. Feel free to check out my new episodes of the weekly vlog from January 26th 2026 at 4 p.m. UK time. And of course, every Sunday as we go into the 1st of Feb and going forward, obviously the movie wrap-ups will continue. Coming up next week, by the way, in the movie wrap-up video, I am going to be talking about Wicked. I'm going to be talking about Wicked for Good. I'm going to be talking about Zootopia and Zootopia 2. And I'm also going to be talking to you guys as well about Song Sung Blue and Marty Supreme as well. So all of those are going to be coming up in my next episode of the movie wrap up right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. So feel free to check that out then. But until then, guys, Happy New Year. Have a great week, whatever your plans are. From me, goodbye. Thank you for watching. See you guys again in my next YouTube video.